Welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk Motorsport, a show we've all been waiting for. Let's Talk Motorsport will focus on the worlds of bikes, cars and go-kart racing, from club level, from grassroots, juniors, all the way through to world championships and everything in between, with a few diversions along the way. It's going to be fantastic. Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. on YouTube Live. You may think it a bit strange sitting there in your lounge room or wherever you may be, looking at me sitting at this desk of Let's Talk Motorsport. Well, let me tell you, sitting here looking down the barrel of the camera is a bit strange as well. But hey, I'm here to stay and we're going to have some fun with it. Tonight, we gaze into the crystal ball and preview the year ahead for Moto GP, World Superbikes and the Australian Superbike Championship. Also, we speak to Cru Halliday and Aiden Wagner from the Yamaha racing team. That and more this week right here on Let's Talk Motorsport.
Second place, that goes from the E-plate.
Now, it's the beginning of the year. Early in the year, we've got many championships up for grabs. It's going to be an enthralling season 2020, probably one of the best ever when you look at world championships all the way through to domestic classes here in Australia. And to go through it before we even kick a wheel in anger during the course of the year, on the show now we've got Phil Harlum, one of Australia's better known motorcycle racing commentators, host of his show on 2RRR every Tuesday afternoon at 5 p.m. And now we're going to have a bit of a chat about what we see as the year ahead. Welcome, Phil. Thanks for coming.
Great to be here, Braxy, and it is going to be a fantastic year, 2020. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, let's start off with the big boys, eh? Moto GP. It ended in a pretty well anticlimax, I suppose, with Marc Marquez winning it so convincingly. His best championship year ever when he was that dominating compared to everybody else. I suppose everybody asking the same question, can he be stopped?
At the moment, you have to think probably no. He just seems to be on top of his game. His ability to actually crash in practice and qualifying and not so much do it in the race has been unbelievable over the last couple of years. And the way he did it last year, he really doesn't have to win as many races as he does, but he just can't stop winning at the moment. I think he just probably is a fraction better than everybody else. The real question is, who's going to be able to step up to challenge him on that weekly basis? Because that's what people have failed to do over the last couple of years. They challenge him once or twice, and then it's someone else stepping up the next week.
Yeah, it always seems to be that they're fighting amongst the scraps, and then Marc Marquez is there. Well, is that the best you can do? It's time to step up a game. And the only real time he beat himself this year was when last year, pardon me, was at Austin in Texas when he had that faux pas when he was 3.5 seconds in front.
But that's right, and there's also a lot of guys that have shown potential to be able to challenge, and which one of those guys is actually going to step up to be the week in, week out challenger? We saw last year Alex Rins have his best year in MotoGP. That was sensational on board the Suzuki, which is getting better and better every year. Can that be the bike that will take over from essentially Dovizioso and Ducati as being the main challenger for Marc Marquez in 2020. Of course, we can't forget Jack Miller. Best ever year for a Ducati satellite rider last year. On the podium so many times, so consistent, a new level of maturity for Jack Miller, which we haven't seen in years gone by. And I really hope that he's the one that's going to step up next year to be that challenger and just continue to do great things for Australian motorsport.
Well, there's going to be one of those stellar years, isn't it? Because of the fact that not only have we got everybody battling for the championship, but we've got guys out there battling for factory and satellite rides, because everybody's contract is up at the end of this year. So how's it going to do? And I reckon throwing a cat amongst the pigeons this year, I think Valentino Rossi is going to hang out to the last moment before he signs anything and stuff everybody else around.
Well, in relation to Rossi, I think the championship needs Rossi there because he is a massive draw card.
He's still beating guys half his age.
That's it. And when you're regularly knocking on the door of the podium, why would you retire? You get to ride the best motorcycles in the world. That's an unbelievable opportunity that if you've got that, you're not going to give it up easily. The other thing is, though, too, that in the paddock, concentrating on his own efforts, but he's also supporting the junior riders coming through from Italy. If he's not in the paddock riding, he's going to be there anyway. He may as well jump on and ride and look for those elusive victories and possibly another world championship. I'd love to see him win another championship. Don't think it's going to happen in 2020, but it really depends on what work Yamaha has done over the off-season to make that bike better. We saw glimpses at the end of the year of how much better it was. And the other thing is, though, too, that how's the dynamic going to work with Viñales? He starts having some good results. Is that going to put pressure on Rossi to try and, make amends for his somewhat lacklustre performance in relation to his teammate over the end of last year? It's a very interesting dynamic.
Well, also, people are quick to forget at the Malaysian Grand Prix, Rossi set a new lap record on the last lap of the race.
That's it.
So, and that was on a bike that was underpowered. In a straight line. You saw that with the Vicioso just flogging him down the straight. But we saw in the off-season testing that the Yamaha has made ground. And another thing too that I noticed last year, everybody was waxing lyrical about Quartararo. He's done very well, don't get me wrong, but he's probably jumped on what they say is the easiest bike to ride in the paddock. And the fact that he was already on a proven machine that had all the modifications done to it, you get bike B. And while Viñales and Rossi are always getting new suspension bits thrown at them, new chassis bits or whatever, okay, the engines are sealed, they can't do much with them at the from the beginning of the year, but they've got to have all these other dynamics. And another dynamic for Rossi too is Galbacira's gone, his replacement. He's a young kid with a bright future, come through the Moto 2 and 3 ranks. Rossi's picked him for another challenge. Is he clutching at straws, or is it something that he needs to be done?
Well, it's also probably he's come up through the VR46 Academy. Maybe it's not just for riders, maybe it's for crew chiefs and technicians as well to be able to get those guys up to the top level. That's an interesting point you made about Quartararo though, because I remember a couple of years ago a bloke making an incredible debut on pretty much the same Yamaha, Johann Zarco.
Yeah.
Then he made the mistake of going to KTM, the bike that really didn't suit his style. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do in 2020 as well, as he looks to try and secure a contract for 2021. That's exactly what 2020 is for Johann Zarco.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's the first domino to fall in the signing stakes with the silly season. And with Sepang behind us and everything with the tests there's been rumours coming out of there what's going on, but we're not going to go into that here because I think rumours are rumours, and we're just let it unfold during the course of the year, because we've got Viñales has been mooted to go to Ducati. He's also got Suzuki hunting his tail down as well. So there's all those guys going to be there, and I think in the end it all depends who comes up with the bigger check and what's better for the rider, because obviously the riders don't get into this for the money. They've got the passion to put themselves on the line every time they go out there, but the money is the extra carrot. And I think now with Jorge Lorenzo rumoured to be the Yamaha test rider for 2020, is that a little inkling that he's going to come back in 2021?
Well, I think from some of the social media posts that he's done, I think he's probably done with racing. But to have him as your test rider, when it was only a few years ago, they said that he couldn't develop a bike. He was only essentially running on the development coattails of other people that had done the hard work. Yeah, that's changed now, obviously, because he hasn't been there for a couple of years, and the bike's performance has gone backwards in relation to the other motorcycles out there in the field. So, it might be a good thing for Yamaha that he comes back as a test rider. Of course, they had Jonas Folger, who was doing a great job. Unfortunately, got sick, and they've fallen back a little bit since then. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Yamaha in relation to that, but also in relation to the other factories and how they go with their test riders. Sylvain Ginsley's been doing a great job for Suzuki. Look how much that bike's come on in the last couple of years.
I'll put you on the spot. You can't say Marquez, but who's your dark horse to wrestle that championship laurel away from the Spaniard?
I think that Jack Miller's going to be there, but I really think that Alex Rins could be the one in 2020 with the Suzuki. We know it's going really good. It's improved a lot over the last couple of years. If that improvement continues for 2020 and the way Alex Rins rode last year, I think he could be the dark horse, and he may take over from Andrea Dovizioso as the person most likely to challenge Marquez.
Take a wild ride trackside. World Superbikes 2020, February, Phillip Island. 2 wheeled supers riding wild at 300 k's per hour. 3-day passes come with paddock access. The buzz of Park for May. Paddock show fun. Camp on circuit for the great mates escape. A massive weekend away. Tickets camping at Ticketek or worldsbk.com.au. February 28th to March 1st, Phillip Island. World Supers for a wild ride trackside.
let's have a look at World Superbikes. And the question is, and everybody's going to say, is can anybody stop Johnny Ray's march to number 6 title? What do you reckon, Phil?
It's really going to depend on how good the new Honda is over race pace, Braxy. Testing's one thing, as we've seen, and also the first round of the championship at Phillip Island probably isn't going to give a fair indication of what's going to happen in the rest of the season. Phillip Island is a track like no other. Just because you're good at Phillip Island doesn't mean you're going to be good when the championship gets back to Europe. And as we saw in 2019, you can get off to the strongest start you want, but if you can't finish off the year, you're not going to win the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Johnny Ray's great at, is stringing a whole season together. His team, they've got the experience, the crew all get along well. They've obviously got a fantastic motorcycle. A new teammate this year maybe may bring some different equations into the championship, but it's Johnny Ray's to lose, but who's going to be the person that steps up to try and challenge?
Well, you said his teammate Alex Lowe's has a good chance there. Like you said, the biggest question mark is the HRC effort, and they don't do things by halves either.
That's exactly right.
With Alvaro Bautista being the flag bearer for the HRC team. But the one that I'm really getting excited about, and I reckon is really going to step up to give Johnny Ray a few punches in the head during the course of the year. You know who I'm talking about already.
Because I think we're both excited.
Yeah, Top Rat Razgat Liolu, the mad Turkishman on bike number 54, jumping onto that pad of Yamaha. He's shown in last season testing and early season testing for 2020, he's got that mongrel in him too, that he just doesn't care who it is. And I think Johnny Ray, when he didn't come to agreement with when Top Rat didn't come to agreement with Kawasaki last year after what happened to him at Suzuka, which was the catalyst of all unfolding. I think Johnny Ray would have been fearful of what would have happened if they'd been on the same machinery this year, and he probably breathed a big sigh of relief when he found out that Top Rat was taking him and his crew chief Phil Marin over to the Yamaha team with Michael Vandermark. Now, what a dynamic those two are going to be.
I was going to say, someone that probably didn't have a big sigh of relief was Michael Vandermark, because he's got a teammate that is seriously going to challenge him for the top man in the Yamaha team. That's going to be another interesting dynamic there. And also that combination you mentioned of Phil Marin and Top Rat Razgat Liolu, how far they can step up this year. Because as we saw last year, he was a regular podium contender. And I think the first person for a fair while to take a win on a satellite motorcycle. Well, it's going to be a big effort this year. He's in the factory Yamaha team and got Vandermark as his teammate. There's going to be a lot to play for this year. And of course, in the background of all of this is Suzuka as well. When they get to Suzuka, Top Rat's going to want to have that ride on that factory Yamaha and get one back in the Suzuka 8-hour race. It's going to be a great year as far as superbike racing goes. And you mentioned that there's not a lot of entries in the Superbike World Championship field for 2020, but I think what we have got is a real good quality lineup across all of the teams. All of the teams have got an exciting rider in there, and there's also some returning riders. The one rider that I'm glad to see back, Xavi Flores, great to see him back in the Superbike World Championship. And as we saw last year, that Pachetti machine is very, very close to the factory bike. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do after a year in BSB.
And we're going on with, we'll just mentioned Yamaha, but we've also got the Ducati. Scotty Redding, fresh from the British Superbike Championship. Chaz Davis is going around and around and around again. Can they step up to the mark? They've got that V4, which Bautista proved last year when he had his mind on the job and it all turned pear-shaped for Ducati after they refused Bautista a pay roll. Or they wanted to cut his, because they didn't realise that his win bonus was then nearly going to send them broke. Because after winning, 13 on the trot, never been done before, and they said, mate, we can't keep paying you this. And they went, okay, that's it. You want to see me lose a championship? I'll lose a championship for you. Whether there's any truth in what I've been told through the paddock, but normally those little rumours like that are pretty well spot on. But he's gone there. Bautista's gone to Honda. He's got Leon Haslam, the 2018 British Superbike champion with him. What can Leon do? There's another one. But those three riders, those English riders, they've been predominantly a big, whereas in years ago it was Aussies that were part of the World Superbike Championship. For many years now I've seen Irish and Englishmen that have been really stepping up the mark, and those three, they've got something really to prove. Scott Redding, he doesn't need anything to prove. He'll be the mongrel dog that hasn't eaten for a couple of years, getting out there on that Ducati and showing them that someone made a mistake by getting rid of me out of Moto GP.
I think the other thing with Scott Redding, it's going to be an interesting to see how he adapts from the differences, the BSB spec machine with that control Motec ECU to the the World Superbike machine, which is obviously a step up in class. That's going to be a very interesting dynamic. But the other thing is, though, too, that how Chaz Davies once again has to fight off an extremely competitive teammate for top billing in that Ducati team. The other Englishman that you didn't mention, also mounted on a Ducati, Leon Camier.
Yep.
You know, tall like Scott Redding, tall like Chaz Davies. They've gone from having the little small guys to the 3 guys on the Ducati Panigale V4s in 2020 are all over 6 foot tall.
And then, another one that's fairly tall, not quite over 6 foot, but on the BMW factory team, Tom Sykes being joined by a guy that's probably beaten himself up more than Mike Tyson in the last couple of years, Eugene Laverty.
Yeah, I think Laverty's a great campaigner, and he showed a couple of years ago at Phillip Island what he can do on board a top-line motorcycle in World Superbike. So that BMW is only going to be better in its second year, as I think the Ducati V4 could be more consistent. We always thought that it was fast, more consistent in the second year. That was the BMW's problem. It was consistent, it just wasn't fast. And Tom Sykes did an unbelievable job last year to get that bike where it was. The other thing is, we know how good Tom Sykes is, and he did a great job in the early days, pretty much single-handedly developing that Kawasaki into a World Championship winning machine. He's now got to do the same thing at BMW. Who knows what the BMW could do? And we've seen how good that new bike is, even in standard form as well.
Well, when you said standard, because last year the bike did actually start as basically a standard machine. And the team have fought their way through it with Sean Muir. He's the man behind all of the scene, very, very astute Englishman. He's got Tom on there. They've got to find durability and the longevity of the tyres. And that's where they were always at the front of the pack, well, particularly Tom Sykes last year. Rottenberg was ex-Speedway boy. He was back there in mid-pack. He was having a good dip. But with Eugene Laverty being up Tom's clacker all year, that'll lift Tom to another level. And now it's up to the guys in the team to see if they can make those Pirelli tyres last the distance. Because as we saw during the course of the racing, in the first third to half of the race, of each race, Tom was right in there.
And that's pretty much exactly what happened in the early days of Kawasaki as well, wasn't it? He'd be fast at the beginning of the race, he'd be fast in Superpole, but the second half of the race, or the last third of the race especially, that was where he lost a lot of the speed and where he lost a lot of races, where people just came past him and he had nothing to resist them. So, yeah, I imagine he's thinking now, going back to what he did in those early years at Kawasaki, to try and make the same improvements in the BMW for 2020.
Now, before we move on with our review, how about one more person or one more team to talk about in the World Superbike Championship? Ten Carter, coming back with Loris Baz. He's another tall one that's...
Yeah. I'm a big Loris Baz fan. I think he's fantastic what he can do on a motorcycle. And he showed last year after starting, you know, it was pretty much well into the European season when he started. By the end of the season, he was knocking on the door of the podium. And, you know, former World Superbike race winner, you know, obviously a challenger. It's going to be good to see him starting from the beginning of the year with the 10 Carter team. They've forgotten more about motorcycles than most people will ever know, Braxy. And the change to Yamaha, they've really got something to prove. They want to be the team that challenges the factory team every weekend. And with Loris Baz, they've probably got a good chance of doing that.
Well, he's on one privateer Yamaha. The other privateer Yamaha's guys coming up, well, one guy in particular coming up from World Supersport, the crazy man. That's
Remember a couple of years ago, didn't he make an impression in his first World Supersport race at Phillip Island? I don't think there was anyone in the field that he didn't have elbow altercations with. No. I think he's going to do the same in World Superbike as well, and who knows what he's going to do. Federico Caricasulo is one of those guys that just doesn't seem to care what anyone thinks of him, and he's proven that over his World Supersport career. I think he's going to do the same in World Superbike. Yeah,
his reputation's been, you're next.
Yeah.
And we'll just have a quick preview of World Supersport for 2020, because as far as the European rounds go, it's going to be of interest for Australian fans with the the current 2019 Australian Supersport champion, Tom Taparis, after a year over there contesting, running back and forth between here and Holland and Germany, and doing the IDM championships there after that magnificent wildcard at Phillip Island, where we got a great finish there, which actually was the springboard for him to heading off overseas. Now the team he's with signed up to do the domestic European Championships as well next year, but also the European rounds of the World Supersport Championship.
Yeah, well, and Tom had that wild card in BSB at the Dutch round over there as well. So it was third last round of the championship.
And third, first time there.
In a very competitive Supersport field. So, you know, Tom Taparis he's got so much to offer for the Benro Racing team in World Supersport for that year. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And I think he's already got the year of adapting to being overseas under his belt, so he's going to be fast straight away. But World Supersport this year is probably shaping up to be the most interesting year for quite some time. We've got the reigning champion swapping marks, going to MV Agusta, which has been the nearly bike over the last couple of years.
That is a very big
How many times has it come close to winning the championship? I think with Jules Cluzel, a couple of different riders there. Rafael de Rose has been fast consistently on that bike. It's going to be very interesting to see how Randy Krimenacher goes. But the one person I'm excited to see is the former world champion, Luca Mas, how good he goes. He's had the year of learning on the Kawasaki. How slow was he at the beginning of the year? By the end of the year, he was consistently challenging for race wins. And he's back now with the same team for 2020. He wants to be a dual world Supersport champion.
Minus half a digit. When we return, Phil and I take a look at what's shaping up to be a stellar 2020 ASBK season. Don't go away. We'll be back in exactly 10 seconds.
Let's Talk Motorsport was created to share local stories and events to all motorsport fans. In-depth conversation is what it's all about, so if it's bikes, cars or karts, you'll hear about it here on Let's Talk Motorsport. And you can send comments and questions to Mark and the team on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, and my apology, this was 20 seconds, not 10. I'll cut it down next time.
Let's get a bit closer to home now, and I think everybody's salivating about 2020 for the Australian Superbike Championship here that is going to be an absolute rip snorter. It culminates in Phillip Island in early October, a couple of weeks before the Moto GP. We've seen, as you said before, we've had the Aussie Superbike testing at Phillip Island last month, and also the first rounds unfolding as we speak. But with Mike Jones, the 2015 and now 2019 champion, he's got a bit of work to do, I reckon, this year. He's people, I suppose, I wouldn't say he was taken by surprise by a lot of people, but I think a lot of the riders didn't really expect him to be where he was, whereas some others, after that first round at Phillip Island last year, when he got a new lap record on the Kawasaki in the third race, people have gone, oh, and one of them just sit up and take notice with Troy Baylor, said, come here. I can't ride this bike this year because of my injuries. Get on and have a crack. And to me, the salivating part of that is to see Wayne Maxwell on a similar machine.
Yeah, well, in relation to Mike Jones, a lot of people didn't expect to see him go so well. A lot of people didn't expect to see him at the second round because at the first round, that was pretty much going to be the end of Mike Jones's championship. But we saw him at Wakefield Park. We had dinner with him, Bracks here, and we sort of pushed him then for some answers on what he was going to do for the rest of the year. And you could tell he was keeping his cards pretty close to his chest, but an inkling that night that he would be racing the rest of the year on board that Ducati Panigale in its final year. And great to see 20 years after Steve Martin won Ducati's last championship that Mike Jones wraps up the last one on a Ducati V-twin. On the V4 though for 2020, it's going to be a completely different motorcycle to try and adapt to. But it's very interesting to see how he goes, because one thing Mike Jones has proven over the many years that we've been watching him race is his adaptability to be able to jump on anything. He's ridden Kawasaki's overseas, he's ridden Ducatis here, he's ridden Moto GP bikes.
You said Moto, that's where he's got the experience with the V4, with the Moto GP machine.
100%. So it's not something completely new for him, and I think he's a very smart customer, Mike Jones. He won't just go out and try and be fast straight away. He'll adapt himself and he'll work up to the pace that we all know he's capable of. But Wayne Maxwell on board that V4, the combination of Wayne Maxwell and Craig McMartin, a man that knows so much about and is so passionate about Ducatis, along with Wayne Maxwell, who has finished on the podium every year in the Australian Superbike Championship, I think, since 2012. That's an unbelievable record. And in 2019, when he wasn't finishing races in first place, he was on the podium, I think, bar for one race. That was the final race of the year at Sydney Motorsport Park, and those two incidents where he was taken out in other people's crashes, or essentially involved in incidents that caused him to crash. Wayne Maxwell is always at the start of every season going in as a serious championship challenger. But those V4s are going to be fast. We saw at the end of last year how fast Jamie Stouffer was at the last round. Jamie was, by his own admission, fat, unfit, and concentrating on trying to operate as crew chief for Max as well in the Supersport 300 Championship. It's going to be very interesting to see what those guys can do. And I'm really looking forward to that battle. But then you've also got so many other factors into the new equation. The new Honda, Troy Herfoss, Paul Free back at Honda. that combination is going to be so interesting
Michelin
to see.
tyres as well.
Yeah, because the
Another
tyre war
element.
has just taken a whole new level in ASBK, and I think that's one of the interesting things. We've now got a three-way tyre war. There is also some talk that maybe Metzler and Bridgestone will be in there as well. We could have five
Bridgestone's
different...
been knocking on the door
Yeah.
on and off over the last couple of years. Well, Craig McMartin, when he had Josh Hook riding for him on the Ducati. So they've been testing the waters a bit, and they've got a lot of GP technology behind them.
And the thing is, we know that Bridgestone has got the technology and they've got the tyres. They've just got to get them here from Japan.
And we go on to other riders. Aiden Wagner, mate, coming back after a horrible, wretched year last year that all turned to crap at Wakefield Park in that second round.
He's probably not looking at the second round. He's probably only thinking about what he did in that first round. Made an immediate impact in the championship. But we knew that was going to happen, Braxy. We've seen him ride for many, many years. A fit Aiden Wagner on a bike that he knows well, because it's not that far removed from the bike that he rode last year, just in the factory team. It's going to be a very interesting year. And also the fact too that you've got Cru Halliday in that team as well, who last year led the championship on more than one occasion and was right there in the equation until about the penultimate round of the championship to win. And in his first year back on a superbike after a year in Supersport.
Coming up, we speak to ASBK stars Aiden Wagner and Cru Halliday from the Yamaha racing team. We'll be back in 10 seconds. Aiden Wagner, welcome back, and haven't you got some unfinished business to achieve?
Yeah, thank you, Braxy. I sure do. Only got one of the rounds out the way at the start of last year, so yeah, I'm back to challenge hopefully for the full year this year.
So last year must have been a pretty trying, depressing year for you.
Yeah, it was very hard. Big surgeries on my shoulder and a lot of time spent at home recovering and physio and all that sort of stuff that you've got to do to get the thing right. But I've ridden about 6 times now and it's feeling really strong. And yeah, feeling like I can push for race wins, that's for sure.
Keeping off the motocross bikes?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's killing me too. But I might start to face
You
that.
guys do more injuries to yourself on motocross bikes than you do anywhere else. When will you learn?
Yeah, I probably won't learn, but you're just so sharp. They complement each other so well, from road racing to motocross, both of them are so good for each other. So it's like it's a bit of a catch-22. Yeah, you feel very, very in tune with the bike immediately if you've been riding a lot of motocross, but I've had to stay off that at the moment and just focusing on the road stuff. But as the shoulder gets stronger and stronger, I might phase that back in. Just have to ride it 80%.
Well, I've seen videos of Marquez on a motocross bike and inch perfect the whole time. You think he was born to be a motocrosser as well?
Yeah, exactly right. There's a few lads out there that can turn a dirt bike around pretty good. So it's, yeah, like I said, it's definitely a big help to ride the both of them.
Now, when did this opportunity come under the Blue Crew Yamaha banner? I know you were punting the Yamaha around last year, but now you're in a fully fledged factory supported team.
Yeah, well, I think we got a bit of interest at the start of last year, at the first round, but it all sort of came together on my wedding day, actually. So I was getting married, and just before the ceremony, I was on the phone to John Redding and all the boys from Yamaha and getting it sorted out. So it was pretty unreal to have both of those things in the same day. But and that was November-ish last year. So yeah.
I was going to get onto that. You did take the plunge and did get married. What caused that moment of insanity?
Yeah, I don't know.
Getting daggers from over.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't slow me down, I don't think it will. So.
And that time off, what was your mental state like? Because I know a lot of people go through depression. Am I going to race again? Yeah. That sort of thing. And I don't think we realise what the brain can do to your head, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, exactly right. I think we do such a high adrenaline sport. When you can't get that affix of adrenaline, you do go in the lowest of lows. Your body actually craves it because it's so used to feeding off that great feeling. So it is hard when you're sore and you can't sleep with the pain and you just want to ride and you don't know when or how you're going to ride. It is very tough. So yeah, to bounce back and to be with YRT this year is unreal.
Did you have any doubts about coming back?
Not really. I just didn't know where I would sort of fit in. But you know, as I started getting fitter and started having a chat with the boys here, you know, I started to get me confidence back, and you know, I know I can be strong on the bike. So yeah, we're just working with the team now and learning the new factory machines and how they work and setting them up accordingly to my riding style.
Now, we know that, well, you've been mainly did all your racing as a solo team, family effort and all the rest of it. Now you're in the factory team. You've got the added dynamic of a teammate, Cru Halliday, who's pretty handy on a motorcycle yourself. What's the dynamic like in the team at the moment?
Yeah, it's really good. And, you know, on top of that, Cru's been in the Yamaha team for a few years now, so he knows the whole dynamic. He knows everyone really well, and me and him get along really well. So it's a nice environment to be in. And yeah, like you say, a lot less work for myself to do. I just got to focus on going fast. And
you got pretty much the same crew you had when the demise happened last year at Wakefield.
Yeah, we got the same boys with me. I got Sam and Robbie coming from Lambridge Transport, and Robbie's also one of my mechanics. So it's a massive help to have people around me that know what I'm doing, and working with Dylan as well as my crew chief, and obviously Kev as well, overseeing the whole operation. So it's, you know, there's a lot of people that know what they're doing around me. So, you know, it's really humbling and great experience at the same time.
And just finally, has Wayne Maxwell come back and welcomed you into the paddock?
Yeah, he was good the day after. I tried to have a chat with him that afternoon, and it was probably a bit too soon. But the next day he was all cool. So no, it's all good.
That's good, mate. And all the best for 2020, mate. We're really looking forward to seeing you kick some freckle.
No, thanks, Braxy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. All the best. Cru Halliday, new season 2020, but back with Yamaha, so that must feel good for you to be in a stable setup.
Yeah, it's good. You know, this is now my second year since I stepped away from the class, back to the 600. But you know, it's sort of, I had last year to sort of get under my belt, which is good, and got some good results. I didn't get a win, but no, you know, I sort of had a good off season. You know, this is the first time back on the bike. I haven't ridden since Eastern Creek last year. So yeah, I feel, you know, we just had the first session then and felt pretty good, and I felt a bit wobbly the first couple of laps, you know, since I haven't been on the bike for so long. But no, it come back to me pretty quick.
Is the bike the same as last year, or you got a new 2020, or you're still waiting for that to happen?
No, they do have 2020s, but at the current time we're on the 2019. You know, they're still trying to get that 2020 into race spec, but you know, it's usually when Yamaha want the perfect package on the track, they got to get it right first, and you know, they don't really want to put us on equipment that's not 100%. So you know, they just need to turn that into a proper race machine. They do have the street bikes there, but yeah, just not all the parts have come for it just yet. So. No, even the 19s are still there. It's exactly what I had it last year, so we haven't really changed much, and you know, I think that's why our times are already pretty quick.
Yeah, going back to last year a bit, you were leading the championship for a lot, you know, it was seesawing and everything, but then something happened towards the end. Have you pinpointed, and what have you taken out of that? Because it was obviously not the end you went to, because you're in with a chance of winning the championship right up to the last round.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I just lost a bit of confidence in the you know, that mid-season break we had. We had 2 months off, then we come back race, and then we had another 2 months off. And I don't know, I think it's just me personally. I clicked, you know, on the second part when we had that second 2 months. I don't know. The bike and all that was good. The team was working great. I think just something in my mind sort of probably got a bit lazy, to be honest, which is strange for me. But you know, that's life. These things happen. I just need to stop taking it so serious and just enjoy what I've got. You know.
Were you losing the fun factor out of it?
To be honest, yeah, I was. You know, I was dwelling on it a lot. You know, it was the first time that I've sort of led the championship and been up there so close in a superbike championship where, you know, I'd go home and think about it so much, and it sort of sucked the fun out of it. But you know, it's good that that's happened, because now that I've taken a sort of a step back, and you know, I'm just grateful for this opportunity. You know, not many people get this opportunity to ride for a factory team, and yeah, that won't happen again, and it's just going to be enjoyment for the rest of the year.
Well, you've certainly got someone on the other side of the garage to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it's he's going to be a quick one. He's going to be hard to beat. You know, everyone saw his performance here last year, and you know, it's a shame what happened to him in round 2. You know, and it's good, but because me and Aiden actually get along pretty well. You know, there's not much more you can ask for, like a good teammate. So you know, I click with him, I click with his team, he clicks with my team, my side of the garage. Yeah, and it was, you know, last year was a bit of a it felt like a split through the garage with certain people, but no, this year's sort of been corrected. I think John Redding's done a good job bringing him in, and you know, our first session we've already sort of helping each other out. So no, it's going to be good to watch.
And starting the season here and finishing at Phillip Island, is that good for you? Because I know you have had a love-hate relationship with this place over the years.
Yeah, you know, it's something that I always really struggle with, this track. The 600 sort of really helped me here. Brought my corner speed up, and you know, since I got back on the 1000, I've seemed to get decent results. I haven't won here, but I've always been up there, where before I was sort of at the back of the faster guys. But no, I think the more I come here, it's gelling with me more, and I would like to finish it like a bit more of a tighter track that I'm better at, but you know, you can't. It's a race, and you got to get good at the tracks you're sort of non-favourable at, and yeah, that's just how the cookie crumbles.
No worries, mate. We'll be talking to you throughout the year, no doubt, but all the best for the start of it.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, that's a pretty comprehensive preview of 2020 and what we think will happen overseas and here in Australia. Thanks, Phil Harlum, for joining us. No doubt we'll see each other around a racetrack somewhere around this beautiful land sometime in 2020. But in the meantime, if you've got a question or a comment that you think's prudent to what we've been talking about in the course of this show, please feel free through Facebook and any other means that you can think of. Send us an email or whatever, and we'll be back right after this break. Hi again. This is a message to all club members, clubs and promoters of events anywhere in the world where you may be. We want to hear from you. If you have any events coming up, please email us at this address so we can put it up on our weekly motorsports events calendar. After all, you might have the best event in the world, but if no one knows about it, how are they going to go and see it? So let us know so we can let everybody else know here on Let's Talk Motorsport. Now, let's have a look at what's coming up on the Australian Motorsport calendar for February. The last weekend in February is massive, with 5 events across the 3 disciplines in 4 different states. First up, we've got round 1 of the Australian Kart Championships at the Bend in South Australia. On the same weekend in Victoria, what a double header. We've got the first round of the World Superbike Championships and the first round of the Australian Superbike Championships. Then, for New South Wales car fans, we've got the Motor Race Championships at Wakefield Park, and also in Queensland at Morgan Park, we've got the first round of the Sprint Challenge Series. Certainly a bit for everybody. It's a matter of deciding which way you want to go, but all in all, there's going to be a lot to talk about on Let's Talk Motorsport. Well, that was certainly a jam-packed show. There'll be more next week and every week, so stay tuned. YouTube, 8 p.m. Wednesdays. This is Braxy signing off. See you soon.
Next week, we're joined by Australia's most successful karting champion, David Serra, along with ASBK Supersport stars Nick Limington, Aidan Hayes and Jack Passfield, plus a couple of the Oceania Junior Cup's rising stars.